Most African Americans are descended from Africans forced to migrate to the Western Hemisphere as slaves during the 18th century. This is an example of forced migration. At the height of the 18th century, living along the east and west coast of Africa, taking advantage of their superior weapons, capture members of other groups living further inland and sold the captives to Europeans. At the height of the 18th century slave demand, a number of European countries adopted the triangular slave trade, an efficient triangular trading pattern. After the immigration laws were changed during the 1960s and 1970s, the population of Hispanics and Asian Americans in the U.S. increased rapidly. Initially, most Hispanics and Asian Americans were recent immigrants who came to the U.S. in search of work. But in the 21st century, most Americans who identify themselves as Hispanics or Asian Americans are children or grandchildren of immigrants. The expansion of the black ghettos in American cities was made possible by white flight, which was the immigration of whites from an area in anticipation of blacks immigrating into the area. Rather than integrate, whites fled. United States, separate but equal. The U.S. Supreme Court in 1896 upheld a Louisiana law that required black and white passengers to ride in separate railway cars. In Plessy versus Ferguson, the Supreme Court stated that Louisiana's law was constitutional because it provided separate but equal treatment of blacks and whites. The Jim Crow laws were laws that segregated blacks from whites. South Africa apartheid. Discrimination by race reached its peak in the late 20th century in South Africa. The apartheid system was created by descendants of whites who arrived in South Africa from the Netherlands in 1652 and settled in Cape Town, at the southern tip of the territory. They were known either as Boers, from the Dutch word for farmer, or Afrikaners, from the word Afrikaans, the name of their language, which is a dialect of Dutch. The white-dominated government of South Africa repealed the apartheid laws in 1991.
In the United States, nationality identifies those who were born in the States or immigrants who have become citizens. Ethnicity identifies groups with distinct ancestry, and race distinguishes blacks and persons of color. Are those girls okay? Ethnicity, the cultural values shared within the same group of people derived from religion, language, and material culture. Whereas those shared with others the same nationality derived from voting, obtaining passport, and performing civil duties. Nationalism is loyalty or devotion to a nationality or a country. States and nations foster it by promoting symbols in flags or songs. For example, the flag of Wales or the Yankee Doodle song. It could also be the California flag, Texas flag. Okay, stop. Ethnicity compromises Northern Ireland and Great Britain. However, they are all of British nationality. Identification with ethnicity and race can lead to discrimination and segregation. Confusion between the two can lead to violence. Lebanon and Sri Lanka are examples of countries where diverse ethnicities don't get along. When Lebanon became independent in 1943, the constitution required that each religion should be represented according to its percentage. Christian Maronites are concentrated in the western central part of Lebanon, Sunnis in the northwest, Shiites in the south and east. The capital and largest city were divided into an eastern zone for Christians and a western zone for Muslims. Each territory was protected by a militia. The territory controlled by each militia changed according to the results of battles with other religious groups. When the governmental system was created, Christians contributed the majority and controlled the country's main businesses. But as Muslims became the majority, they demanded political and economic equality. The agreement ended in a civil war, ending in 1990. It gave each religion one half of 128 seats in parliament. Sri Lanka is inhabited by three major ethnicities: the Sinhalese, Tamil, and Moors. The dispute between Sinhalese and Tamils extends back more than 2,000 years but was suppressed during the 300 years of European control. Since Sri Lanka has gained independence in 1948, Sinhalese have controlled government, military, and most of the commerce. Tamils suffer from discrimination and have received support for a rebellion that began in 1983 from Tamils living in other countries. The war began in 1983 and ended in 2009 with the defeat of the Tamils. The Tamils fear that the laws jeopardize their ethnic identity again.
This is South Asia, before it won its independence from Great Britain. Then it became West Pakistan, India, and East Pakistan. They were separated when they were ruled by Great Britain because they kept fighting for territory. Gandhi was an advocate nonviolent. That was the chance to unify both states. The reason why they kept fighting was because of ethnicity. One was Muslim and another was Hindu. This made the migration between West Pakistan and India and East Pakistan to India a lot deadlier because they kept killing each other.
Ethnic cleansing, the attempt to get rid of members of an unwanted ethnic group in order to establish an ethnically homogeneous geographic area. Example, deportation. Balkanization is the destruction of a state due to ethnic conflict. Example, Sudan is undergoing balkanization. Genocide is the killing of a large group of people. Characteristics are shooting and poisoning. Examples, or an example would be the Holocaust. Non-example, the murder of one person.